So for a person who, again, is not planning to go to a power meet, um, is there a need for them to go below 4 reps in training?
I would say
That's an arbitrary number, but you know what I'm getting at.
I would say probably not. I mean, you can get plenty strong, even doing, sets of 10, those sorts of things.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't, so that I would have thought you needed to get at least into the 5s and 6s sometimes, but.
So you can get really strong doing sets 10, 15, those sorts of things. Now, you will not be as strong even per cross-sectional area as somebody who trains for strength, because strength is a specific skill. And even like myself, my best squat ever is a 668. And when I was, 6 months out from that, it's not like I added weight to the bar that I was able to squat, but it's not like I added that much more lean body mass, because I didn't. I was practicing the skill of a 1 rep max, which allowed me to better do the 1 rep max.
And you were practicing at what percent of ultimately became 661?
Usually around 90, 95, but not very much at 95, mostly at 90 for like singles.
And what was your RPE when you did those singles?
So usually about 8.5 or 9. Yeah.
Okay.
So
you would do multiple of that, just
yes.
doing the math. Let's just say that's 620 or something like that. Or,
yes.
Yeah. So let's say call it 600 pounds. So you would do a 600-pound single 3 times in a workout.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And what you're kind of making gains on at that point is just it just teaches you how to grind through a lift. Because a lot of people have never had the experience of really sticking with a lift. And interestingly, the more advanced somebody gets in terms of strength, the slower their 1 rep max velocity will be. And we see this in research studies all the time. Somebody who's kind of new will come in, they will absolutely smoke a weight. You put 5 pounds on, and then they get stapled, because it's just
they don't have that grind capacity.
They don't know how to do it. And part of that may be psychological, but part of that's probably physiological too.
So interesting.
In terms of you just haven't trained your body to recruit all the fibers that it can get. So, lean body mass and strength are very closely tied together, but when it gets to those finer levels of strength, it's kind of just practicing the actual, 1 rep max. So when it comes to getting strong, you can absolutely get strong, doing sets 10, 15, because you're increasing your lean body mass. Do you need to do sets of 3, 4? No, but what I would say is don't necessarily count them out, because a lot of people actually just do really well with variety. So, periodization was kind of a big thing for lifting back in the day. And now we've kind of shown that, at least in the research studies, it doesn't appear to produce greater gains in lean body mass, maybe a little bit better strength gains, but that's probably just because people peak better when you're periodizing things. But what tends to actually be shown is that people just tend to like periodization better, because they're varying their repetitions. They're not as bored, right? So you never want to kind of poo-poo the psychological effects of those things. I talk about this with diet as well. Adherence is the most important thing, just getting people to come in and do it. So especially for people who are coming into the gym, if they're just trying to get stronger and be healthy, well, for me, if I'm like talking to them or coaching them or whatever it is, it's like, well, what do you enjoy? What's going to get you to show up consistently, right? Oh, you don't want a free squat? That's fine. Let's leg press. There's many ways to skin a cat. You don't want a barbell deadlift? Okay, no problem. Let's do some RDLs, those sorts of things. Slightly less technical lifts that are still going to produce really great gains in terms of strength, lean body mass, those sorts of things. So if you're not going to specifically compete in a strength sport, there's so many paths to Rome in terms of getting stronger and increasing lean body mass. So
do you think there are some principles, for example, like let's say a person isn't confident that they have the technical ability to execute a squat or a deadlift. Let's look at a hip thruster. Again, you can screw that up too, and you could hurt yourself, sure, but it's a lot harder to hurt yourself doing that. Do you think there is still an essential need for some sort of compound movement, like a hip thruster, at least as a complement, or a leg press, as you point out?
It's pretty funny. Like, I went through a phase where everything I learned from the magazines, the bro science, I was like, well, this all has to be junk, you know?
Yeah.
And now we're actually having studies come out that are validating some of this bro science from like 20, 30 years ago. So there does appear to be like different areas of the leg muscles, the quadriceps, for example, that are better activated by, say, a leg extension compared to a leg press, compared to a squat. So I do think it is good to have variety. I think it is good to have compound lifts as well. And in fact, there's some interesting data that suggests that you don't have to get as close to failure on compound lifts to still get the same stimulation compared to isolation exercises, where you do seem to have to get much closer to failure to get those benefits.